this case, and I have brought two representatives from the Genesee County Sheriff's Office who are going to talk to you, Sergeant Walker and Sergeant Mullen, and this time I'd like to just turn it over to them.
Okay. My name is Greg Walker. I'm a sergeant with the Genesee County Sheriff's Office. This is Sergeant Steve Mullen, also with the Sheriff's Office. Today about 5:30 p.m. we received a call that a patron at Darien Lake had fallen from the Ride of Steel roller coaster. We responded. I found out that the person was deceased from falling from the roller coaster. We're in the initial stages of this investigation, but through what we have so far, the patron was James Heckamer, and he's from Gowanda, age 29 years old. They were on one of the hills, descending from one of the hills, when he became dislodged from the roller coaster and fell to the ground. He is, just to let you know, he is a veteran from the Iraqi war, where through his deployment in Iraq, he had one leg was amputated at the hip, and another leg was amputated just above the knee. So that's all the information we really have at this point in time for you. The investigation is still continuing with the assistance of Darien Lake, which has been helping us, as well as the New York State Labor Department is also assisting us with this investigation.
Do you know if something may have come loose on the ride itself?
So we're still going through the investigation, so we can't comment on that at this point, being it's still the initial stage of our investigation.
What's the spelling on his last name?
Last name, we're actually going to give you a copy of the news release, which will have the spelling and age for you in the news release.
Your name as well?
My name, Greg Walker, W-A-L-K-E-R, and Sergeant Steve Mullen, M-U-L-L-E-N.
How much of a factor his being an amputee might have played in this?
Again, with the initial stage of the investigation, it's tough. We don't want to comment on that at this point because we still have a lot to do with the investigation.
Was it a full coaster?
Were all the seats occupied?
Yes.
I don't believe they were.
Do you know roughly how many people were on it at the time?
Do you know whether Darien Lake has let other amputees ride the Superman or the Ride of Steel? I mean, is that...
As far as stuff, I mean, any questions you have regarding Darien Lake, I'm not going to be able to answer them because I don't know what their policies are. So that's something you'll have to direct at a later time for Darien Lake.
Was he in the front of the ride? Was he in the middle? Do you know where he was and what car he was in?
He was in the front.
In the very first car?
Yes.
You said this was in one of the rolling hills, is that what you said?
One of the hills that's on the roller coaster.
How far did he fall, approximately?
I can't say right now. I don't know how far the fall
Was it more of being falling or thrown from the car?
That we can't. We're still talking with people and everything, so I can't answer that either.
Was someone sitting with him?
There was somebody with him.
And that person's fine?
Yes.
Do you know approximately how fast the car was traveling at that point in the ride?
Only an estimate, and that would be maybe 50 miles an hour.
15?
50.
The ride does go up to speeds of 70, right? 70 miles an hour?
Yes.
Do you know if the safety measure was checked before the ride took off? You know how they check each particular seat?
Yes.
Yeah.
How long will the ride stay closed?
Until the New York State Department of Labor determines it's okay for the ride to open back up.
Do you know about how long it was before first aid got to his body?
That I don't know yet.
We had one witness say it was about 20 minutes before anybody got to where he was. Is that possible?
I don't believe that's possible.
Okay.
What type of restraint is on the ride? Is it just a lap bar? Is it a seat belt? Is it a shoulder harness?
There's a lap bar, and there's also a seat belt.
I'm sorry, lap bar and what? Seat belt?
A seat belt.
So just so we're clear, he was an amputee. Did he have prosthetic legs on?
No, he did not.
He did not?
No.
All the families been notified at this point?
Yes, families have been notified.
What do you say to people that will watch this tonight that maybe have plans to come here this weekend?
As far as we can tell right now, there was nothing as far as mechanical-wise or anything with the ride that would have caused this accident. So if people have plans to still come to Darien Lake, I would still tell them to stay with their plans.
So if it was nothing mechanical, do you feel that maybe it was a physical issue with his body?
Is that a possibility? It's a possibility, yes. But we can't say that for sure at this point.
Will there be an autopsy done on the body?
Yes.
And your investigators are still there? On scene?
Yes.
And how long do you think it'll be?
They'll probably be wrapping it up for this evening very soon, and then continuing it on until we get to the end of the investigation, which it's hard to say how long that's going to take.
What happened with the other folks after the ride was stopped and you obviously interviewed them? What happened there exactly? Did you take them somewhere else?
Yes, we took them to a different area where we sat down and spoke with everyone that was there to talk to and get their version of what they saw, if they saw anything.
I'm sure it was obviously traumatic for them. Is there people for them to talk to? What do you do to go from here with them?
Yes, Darien Lake again has been very helpful with this, and they're assisting the family at this point and doing things for the family, and we'll most likely, I'm sure, we'll be able to supply, if anybody has something traumatic, I'm sure Darien Lake will be able to assist with anything in that.
Did the ride complete its run after they fell out?
Yes.
Go all the way to the end?
Yes.
Linda, can we ask you any more about, do you have any?
We're going to prepare some statements for tomorrow. We're working on tonight, and we certainly want to talk to the sheriffs about their investigation before we comment further.
Could you at least tell us if you generally allow people who are MBTs on these rides?
Like I said, I'm going to go through the whole investigation with the sheriffs before we release any more information.
How long do you expect the investigation to take?
And again, it's tough to say how long this is going to take, because actually we'll have to get the results of the autopsy, and if there's any more witnesses that may come up after today that we weren't aware of.
It's certainly the Department of Labor. They're the ones that are going to assist us with the operation. They inspect the rides and are going to assist us making sure that everything was properly functioning, and so we're going to rely heavily on their assistance as well.
What type of training, I don't know if you could speak on that, do the conductors of the ride receive in order to determine who's fit to ride the rides?
That we can't answer.
Linda, when was the last time the ride was inspected safety-wise?
I'm not going to answer any more questions until tomorrow. Right now, our focus is the family, and we have our personnel with the family, and I'd like to get back to
So you don't know at this point?
No, I don't.
Will other rides be inspected? I mean, obviously, we don't know if it's mechanical, but is this something where all rides now should be inspected, or what happens now? I mean, is the park going to be open as normal tomorrow for all the other rides?
Sir, I'm not going to make any more comments
Okay, I
at this
just
point
didn't know
in
if the
time.
public might want to know if they're coming on.
We should be
New
open,
York-
yes.
Okay, that's all I have.
We will be open, Rob.
Thank
New
you.
York State does annually inspect the rides.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
we didn't hear from New York State that this thing is out of inspection. I can't imagine that they would allow it to be out of inspection.
Sure, I didn't
So,
know if something like this would provoke more inspection, you know what I'm saying?
Again, you have to direct that to, the Labor Department who inspects rides.
Sure.
Is their protocol. But, as Sergeant Walker said, and as representatives from Darien Lake said, I mean, the park is going to be open tomorrow. The rides are safe, they're inspected. I got to tell you that Darien Lake has been phenomenal to work with in this investigation and in any investigation we have out here, and their priority is the safety and enjoyment of their guests. So, to their credit, they opened their doors to us and the New York State Department of Labor and asked us how we can all work together to figure out what exactly happened, what we can do to learn from this and make it safer for everybody. And they've certainly been over backwards from the interaction we've had with both family, other people on the rides, and even their own staff to make sure that they have people to talk to if they want to or need to. So to Darien Lake's credit, they've done a lot proactively rather than reactively.
Is the Ride of Steel the only ride that's being affected by the investigation right now, or are there other rides in the vicinity that are shut down as a need of the investigation?
Only the Ride of Steel.
Who was Sergeant Hagler here with?
He was here with his family,
Wife and kids?
his children and sisters.
This seatbelt that you described is a lap bar and also seatbelt. What kind of seatbelt is that? 5-point harness over the shoulder?
It's a lap belt.
So the only restraint is by the lap, not riders?
Yes.
Were his sister and children on the ride with him?
No, they were not.
So his children did not witness this event?
No, they did not. They were not with Sergeant Ackerman at the time.
Was he with his sisters? You said he was with someone. Was it someone you didn't know that you just rode the ride with?
Obviously, at this point, we're not, for everybody's privacy, we're not going to release the other people that were sitting next to him or even on the car, the roller coaster for that matter. So we'd like more time to interview everybody and get their statements.
We will be providing more information as the investigation goes along. This is just all we have at this point in time. We'll be updating.
You can't speak at all towards the type of training that an employee gets?
Not at this point in time, no. It's part of the overall investigation.
You gentlemen mentioned that nothing mechanical that you can tell had gone wrong, but as far as the lap belt goes or the bar, if anything broke or took place there?
With the initial investigation, like I said, we're assuming at this time nothing was mechanical, which the State Department of Labor is going to be going further with that. And as far as the restraint system, at this point, it appears that the restraint system was working.
Was working?
Yes.
I'm sorry, just to clarify, he was in the front car, was he in the very first row of that car?
Yes.
Yes.
And you said it was a lap bar and belt?
Yes.
Who was first on scene? Security from Darien Lake,
Members from Darien Lake were first on scene.
and then after that?
Myself.
How quickly, approximately, did you respond?
When I received the calls in the village of Corpus, so it probably took me 2 or 3 minutes.
And just so we're clear, there's no overarching rule of not allowing amputees on rides.
That is part of our ongoing investigation, which we will update on. We have to look at everything.